Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Anderberg, and I represent CCSESA and the 58 California County Superintendent of Schools in our state and their county offices of education. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I direct the Statewide Arts Initiative, whose mission is to strengthen and expand arts learning in California schools. And some of our work has been in developing resources and tools for educators, and some of those will be shared today, including our creativity at the core modules, which are on our website. And also, you'll see some of those links in the chat, and we'll be following up with other resources as well. We've been working for some time on culturally responsive and sustaining strategies to powerfully impact student learning and engagement. And we, a couple of years ago, developed a strategies publication on culturally and linguistically responsive arts learning in action. And we invite you to use this publication. There's some great strategies. We're an affiliate of Create California, and we work with many partners on behalf of the students in California. We also have a rural arts network. Since 57 of our 58 counties have rural communities. We really feel that all students deserve an education that includes arts learning. Today's focus on English language learners and the transformative power of the arts, you will experience some great strategies and resources that I think you can immediately take back to the classroom or your organization. I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your schedules to join us as we enter this space together. We hope this is a unique opportunity to allow you to relax, enjoy as we learn together in community today. And we're so grateful for our partners at the Los Angeles County Office of Education in the Center for Distance and Online Learning and their incredible team. They have some amazing resources that they've developed and will share with you today. And it's just my privilege to turn this over to Janine Flores, who will tell you more. So thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Janine, and I'm the Arts and STEAM Coordinator here at the Los Angeles County Office of Education in the Center for Distance and Online Learning, where we support lots of programs, including TEAL, TELA, our Promising Learners Project, Sport, and Arts and STEAM. I am delighted to be here today with my fabulous colleagues, Sarah Anderberg from CCSESA, where I'm Region 11 lead. I love being that. Our project director is Dadia Seiss. My colleague Arlene Bates is going to speak about TELA. And then Peggy Burt is one of our arts consultants that will be presenting here today. You're going to learn what TEAL and TELA means, our journey to support English language learners here in Los Angeles County and how you can do that in your location. We'll also share some dance, we'll get some movement in, and we'll show some ELD connections, as well as some theater strategies. And then we'll give you some time to digest this and see what are your next steps and what can you bring to your students. And then we'll share some resources with you, and then we will close. So that is the plan for the day. At this time, I'd like to invite my boss, Dadia Seiss, the wonderful Center for Distance and Online Learning project director, to come and give us a little bit of a framework. How did all this happen? Why are we here?
Thanks, Janine. No one's your boss, Janine. Really, that gives me such a pleasure to be with all of you. This truly is an example of our collective impact model that I need to mention quite often in my little piece here of giving you a snapshot of what TEAL is, how it led to TELA, and how we are just so honored to serve our 80 plus districts and charters in LA County to specifically and intentionally address the needs of our English learners. Here's some snapshots, and here's a quick kind of, today is a day filled of conversations and learning from each other. So I thought this little section, I'm just going to share with you. I've been here since the beginning of TEAL, which is Technology Enhanced Arts Learning. We were very honored to have the Department of Arts and Culture come our way and really, really want to do a grassroots effort in getting into the classrooms, getting the art to the children. And in my opinion, no better way than working with the county offices. And that relationship started 9 years ago. And so one of my kind of lessons learned is, really, really take time to choose partners in this important work that is life-changing. Transformational is not an overstep for what the arts can do. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we know that a lot of dotties around a table, that's fine. But what's better is having Janine's and having our community partners and having the Department of Arts and Culture, Department of Mental Health, DMH. We are partners in this important work. And that's what we've done. The work coming out of our office here at LACO is truly a collective impact model, which means we use technology and in-person strategies that are research-based that have allowed us to pivot. And I know we're all really tired of that word. I wish I didn't have to pivot so much. But when we are asked by our districts to do it something completely virtually, we can do that. Something hybrid, we can do that. And if they want it completely in person, which we are doing next week for TELA, we can do that as well. So, one lesson learned is create a community of advocates that advocate for all. And that really will give your projects the power to grow, sustain, and maintain. And that has allowed us to do this arts integration work for 9 years. I'm so proud to say that these partnerships over the years have grown because of the people involved. It's really about the people and the fact that our eye is not only on the student, the whole child, it's the whole adult as well. So lessons learned number 2, when you're doing the work, keep your eye on those adults, because the power of arts has to be felt by all of us. And if you haven't experienced it yourself, it's really hard to do that in a classroom and ignite your students. So that's what TEAL did. So we started off with the funding for TEAL, but what we recognized when we worked with our internal evaluator, that was Dr. Edwards at the time, was that our work was landing with English learners. The teachers that had access and were serving our English learners, they were the ones that really understood and really engaged and used the arts in a way that gave student voice, student leadership, and access to curriculum to our students. And we worked collectively with our teaching artists, educators to develop this. Again, that collective impact model. And that again really led us to write a federal grant. And here's another lesson. It wasn't an arts grant. It was a grant coming out of the federal government, OELA office. And I had the pleasure to co-direct, I'm still co-directing this grant in partnership with my counterpart here at LACO, who's in charge of the multilingual academic support unit. Some of you may know her, Ruth Baskett. She is amazing. So we brought our 2 worlds together to lead this work. And that led us to TELA. So really, before I move on and talk a little bit about TELA, I'd like to just share a very authentic video that all you're going to witness are people enjoying the arts through TEAL.
some of the other work that the CDOL team is doing around arts integration says, what about a history lesson that's performed through theater, focused on the social emotional skills that those folks in the past did or didn't show. So still now 30 minutes where we're doing history, art, and SEL.
Let's make the dance party. Come on. Oh, happy day. Break the circle. Come on and have some fun. Come on. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. One more time. Come on. Let's go. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Last time. Oh, happy day.
So there's an example that was Scale Up, one of our grants that we've been awarded throughout the 9 years with one of our teaching artists that not only is focused on the work that we need to do with our students, but the work we need to do with our adults. There were directors, assistant soups in that room you may have recognized. So all that work bundled up with an intentionality towards our English learners is what led us to TELA, Teaching English Learners Through the Arts. And those are the strategies and the work that we'll be sharing with you in the next 2 or so hours. And I'd like to pass it on to Arlene Bates.
Thank you, Dottie. As you can see, we are very proud and joyous about the work that we get to do together. But it really comes with all the partnerships that we work with, and really we always, who do we want to play with and who wants to play with us, right? In order to make these partnership and this collective impact model that we truly believe on. And so one of the things that we do with TEAL, right? I always call it the mothership. To me, TEAL is a mothership. And from there, we've been able to expand. And when the opportunity came to look at the next level, it was to add ELD, English Language Development standards, to the work, and to do an actual research study on what that would look like. So we are doing a replication of a Harvard study that they did in ELD and math. They studied on how do we teach math using ELD and having the ELD. So we went and took it to the next level and said, well, what does that look like if we do English language development and arts integration? How do we teach language development doing that? And so we've been able to put together an amazing, just because of the partnerships we work with and partners, an innovative program that provides us those strategies. And as you can see, these are actual pictures of our teachers doing the work. And I always point out David here, he is 6'4". He is a kindergarten teacher, and he is all into this. As you can see, this is true joy, a man who truly understands the connection of language development and arts integration. We do serve a high, we have 8 districts that we work with. 6 of them are what we call our adjunct districts. So they have been given the opportunity, and they support us in vetting our content. So what we do differently about TELA is, instead of pushing all at once, we've been able to take every year and introduce only one discipline at a time. So our first year was development, putting it together. And then year 2, we introduced visual arts. And actually, I'm very proud because one of our original teaching artists and directors is in the house today, who really started us on this journey of providing professional development, specifically on visual arts. We moved on to our second year with dance, and then COVID happened. And that was okay. We were going through that. And as Dottie said, even though we all don't like the word pivot, we pivoted. And we continued to be able to provide this professional development to our teachers via Zoom, via Teams, via WebEx, whatever we needed to do, we did. And that's the beauty of being part of, CDOL, the Center for Distance Online Learning, because all our content is in person, but we also have it all online. So we were able to just completely shift over into our dance, finish our dance year. And then last year, 2021, when we were all home, we continued and provided our training with music. And we were able to bring in our artists via Zoom. We have a model where we have 3 different distinct teaching artists that come in very specific for that discipline. So I talked about our 6 adjunct districts. Then we move on to what we call our intensive districts. That's where the research is actually happening. So the content that our adjunct districts vetted moved into our intensive districts, and they were the actual implementers of all the different strategies, which we'll share with you guys later. So we moved into music, and this year, as we've gone back in person, we are honored to be able to provide in-house and in a hybrid true model of professional development. So we'll have some of our teachers and administrators who will be in the house with us, and we'll have other teachers and administrators who will be on with us via Zoom. So we're doing a true model of what that's going to look like. We also have a big connection with our parents and families. They're very, very involved in this process. And we have our different schools who have done very specific, like 10 weeks at a time, teaching the parents the same strategies that the teachers are teaching their students. So when they come home, they have these conversations. They can talk about the art. They can talk about the movement. They can talk about ostinato and what that means. Aren't you proud of me, Janine? I said ostinato. So it's just been a true labor of love, but also it's brought joy to our teachers. They want to be part of this project because there's 2 camps. One, they're learning these strategies a few at a time. Every year we give them 2 to 3 strategies that they've learned, and we scaffold them, right? So everything's scaffolded on each other. And like I say, we went from visual arts to dance to music, and our culmination year is theater. So putting it all together, and that's where we are this year. Also, we work very closely with our external evaluator, who guides us through the project and provides the research, and it provides the rigor that needs to be part of the research as we move on. And we also find that we go TK to 6th grade, and like I said, this is entering our 5th year, and we're starting to see anecdotally our principals saying it's just a different feeling out there with our kids. They will tell you that they survived COVID because of the arts, because of the SEL that is embedded in our SEL work, in our TELA work, and they were able to connect to the parents. That was a big piece, is connecting the parents to with their students and be able to have the conversations at home. And we saw a lot of that happening with us. So we're just excited to be able to share this with you and what that looks like. And the resources, like I said, we have all our resources are online. We have our TELA website, which we'll give you access to later, or just give you the link, and we'll go from there. We talked about partnerships, right? And we have worked very closely with our different artists, but I will say one of our biggest collaborators has been Ms. Gilbert, and she's going to walk us through how TELA came together with the dance strategies specifically for ELL. As you can see, these are the 4 strategies that our teachers learned and used throughout their year of music, or dance, but have moved it into music, which has just been really, really exciting. So Miss Peggy always tells us, dance is for everybody. I believe that the dance came from the people and it should be always delivered back to the people. Quick story here, when we started our dance year, we had a couple of teachers who said, I don't dance. I'm not a good dancer. I don't dance. I'm going to sit in this corner over here in my chair and I'm just going to observe. And I said to her, I said, well, I understand, I'm not a good dancer either, but I can move. So I bet you can move also, right? Because this is dance and movement. It's not just about being this perfect, amazing dancer. It's about also moving. And she said, okay. She wasn't like that excited, but she said, okay. Well, guess what? At the end of our session, at the end of our PD, she came to me and she said, okay, I can dance. And there was such joy in her face. And Peggy knows exactly what I'm talking about because Peggy was in the room and she literally, you could just see the joy in her face because she was given a voice, she was given an opportunity, and she was given the joy to interject and to be able to do this. And she took it. I saw her a week later because I visit the schools pretty much on a weekly basis. When I saw her the following week, she had already used it with her kids. They were already preparing for, at that point, it was in October, November, that time frame. They were getting ready for their holiday performances. And she said, she goes, you know what? I just taught them what Peggy taught us. And then they took over. She goes, I didn't have to go anymore from there because that's how it translated into the classroom. So it's just, that, if we open up ourselves to the opportunity of just saying yes, it moves us forward. So this terminology should look familiar to a lot of you. And when it comes to the EL world. So emerging, what does that mean, right? Emerging, expanding, and bridging. Well, today we're actually going to get to feel it, hear it, and just be enveloped by it. So just remember when you're merging, right? As we have it here, it's the engaged audience member. Right now, we're hoping you're with us, right? That when the music was playing earlier today, we were, kind of just starting to move a little bit, and you became an engaged audience member with us, right? But then some of us might have said, "Oh, I'm going to dance my own way," and I know some of you were out there dancing, right? And you were doing it in your own way. Well, Peggy's going to take us to that bridging piece. She's going to be our choreography master. And she's going to lead us through this process and how we're going to be able to just really at the end of today, our hope and is that you will just feel that joy that the arts brings us. But at the same time, what kind of language do we develop through the process? This should also look very familiar to you. It's part of the ELD standards. And we're going to be able to share with you how these connections happen from emerging to expanding to bridging, and how that aha moment that we know our participants in this project really have had. I'm going to invite Miss Peggy Burt to take it away and take us to the next level. Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you, Arlene. Thank you, everyone. So I am a dancer. I've been a dancer my whole life, and I have been a dance teaching artist for a number of years. Many of you know I also do strategic planning and all kinds of curriculum development and professional development within dance. But my exposure, my experience working with English learners was limited. So Arlene called me up and she said, Peggy, we're doing TELA and we're going to do dance. And as you heard her say, we have different teaching artists for each of our art forms. So one of the teaching artists was doing social dance and doing some incredible world dance, cultural dance. I always do creative dance, modern dance, which is very deeply woven into our California dance standards. And I said to Arlene, when we dance, we usually don't talk. And she just laughed because she's like, well, there are other domains to this, Peggy. And then I'm like, domains. It's like speaking, reading, writing, listening. I'm like, oh. And she said, using verbs and verb phrases like moving, turning, sliding. I'm like, oh. And I started, the clouds parted, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, because research shows when students are deeply engaged in doing something they love, they want to talk about it. If you ask a student, please describe to me the math problem you just solved, an English learner may really shrink back and feel like that's difficult. But when I say to a student who's an English learner today, tell me about your dance, they're all over it. They want to say, here's how I choreographed my dance. Here's how I used space or energy or time. These are my verbs. These are my adverbs. I moved slowly. I moved carefully. And I'm like, what are your adjectives? Brisk. And we start to have this dialogue about not only the academic language of dance, but the language and the vocabulary and the terminology within their academic content areas that they are grappling with. And when they speak, they are empowered. And when they listen, they're listening for things that fuel their artistic expression. This is such a game changer from my point of view, because I had really been trapped in thinking it was, theater for English learners, or, something where they were using their verbal all the time. But now I like to use spoken word with dance, having students create poetry with dance, using word walls, which is a strategy we're going to share, sequencing things so they understand beginning, middle, and end. And I hope you can tell from my animation, I found it just incredibly exhilarating and empowering, because not only does the Center for Distance and Online Learning work with educators in a deep, rigorous way to understand arts integration with EL strategies and SEL strategies, it's also uplifting the community of teaching artists that we have here in Los Angeles County and making us all more effective so that we can continue to dive deeply into the standards and the framework and the EL. Now I can actually read the ELD standards and understand what they mean and understand how to apply them to my art form. So I'm just so grateful to TELA for really shining a light and understanding how all of these things create this mesh, this web. So in the art form of dance are three key elements as outlined in our California dance standards: are space, energy, and time. And I usually speak of them in that order because I say ready, set, dance. SET, space, energy, time. And that makes it really easy to remember. I used to teach 6th grade dance here at a public school here in LA County, right by the airport. And I would always have the students call out the different elements. And I'd say, what do we have in space? And they would call out, pathway, size. And, I would point to them and they would show me that size, small, or show me that direction. And it was very interactive. So we made it really a game about learning the different elements of dance. And I said, this is just like ingredients when you're creating a gourmet meal that you want to serve. These are the ingredients that you need to create any kind of dance. Can we make a hip hop dance out of this? Yes. Can we do jazz? Yes. Can we do salsa? Absolutely. So this transcends genre, style, culture. They're the elements of dance, the ingredients of dance that we need to create that form. We need space, can be very small, can be a Zoom box, but we need space. We need energy in different ways. Smooth, the quality of movement can have sharp attack. It can have soft flow. And more than anything, just like our music, we need time. Dance happens in the present moment. Dance happens now. And we need rhythmic patterns, duration, accent, beat, and speed to define the mood, the story, and how we want our dance to come across. So the elements of dance have many, many commonalities with visual arts. Those of you that are artists will see some of these same exact elements appear in visual arts. And of course, many of them appear in theater and also in music. So there are many overlapping elements here, but our body is the instrument, and our joy is our fuel. That's how I feel about it. So here's how this started making sense to me. And if you think about this as a jigsaw puzzle, as Arlene showed, there are these two parts in the ELD standards. Part one is called interacting in meaningful ways, all of the ways that we relate to each other with language. That includes our communication skills of collaboration, interpretation, and production, all of which we need to create dance, to choreograph dance. In part two, learning how English works, we communicate effectively, starting to make even more connections and more meaning, creating cohesion in the way we express ourselves. Just like as we become more adept in dance, our dances become more cohesive. They become more expanded. We have a larger vocabulary and more that we can draw on. So I often can see where people are moving through their language development and their choreography, their dance development, and they start to build these building blocks and these stepping stones that create greater cohesion and make more meaning. All of this is threaded through our California dance standards. There's so many touch points that mesh perfectly with English language development. The strategies that we have been teaching in TELA include the locomotor and axial movement, the moving and the staying in place, with a freeze dance, the ABC dance, which is a sequence dance of beginning, middle, and end, and then really going into language with responding and connecting so that students are using a framework within which they can respond to another person's dance and give constructive feedback of what should be altered, changed, expanded in this iterative process. So some of the considerations for a locomotor axial freeze dance and a word wall. The word wall has been so exciting for me. I, spent many years in a dance studio, but I'd never seen a word wall before I got to TELA. And it was really a simple and strategic way to reinforce learning. Developing a list of locomotor and axial movement words so that students could see it, they could read it, they could hear it, they could speak it, having students practice those movements, introducing more and more dance vocabulary, having students with voice and choice select their own movements, expand. I love what Arlene said. It's like you just drop a dance concept into a group of students and they will take it and run with it. And I have seen this over and over again, is you just have to add a drop and then they will take it to that next level. Using tiered sentence frames. So sentence starters start the students out with a beginning phrase. Sentence frames have a phrase, fill in the blank, a phrase, fill in the blank, the Mad Lib. And it's really a great way to advance because sometimes it's those connective tissue words that can stumble a second language learner. I myself am a second language learner, and I find it's those in-between words that create that flow that I'm often stumbling on. So the sentence frames to me are extremely beneficial. And those are all throughout the TELA modules on the online system. So here's an example of a simple locomotor and non-locomotor or axial word wall. And again, if you have been an educator, a classroom teacher, this is not rocket science. I understand that. But using this in real time with dance is a great reinforcement strategy that oftentimes, like for instance, I'll go to a school and they'll say, you're gonna, your dance class will be in the gymnasium. Well, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to have a word wall in a gigantic gym, right? It's just, we don't do it. Usually we just don't do it. In a classroom, that's very common. But using a word wall to develop the vocabulary of dance is critical. And now I always do it, even if I have to put a chart paper up on the back of a chair, right? So it's this idea of being able to see it, to read it, to speak it, to hear it. And then they have that as part of their toolkit. Many times these skills are not emphasized in a dance class. It's about steps. It's about memorizing movement. It's about the language of dance in that way. It's not necessarily building vocabulary, understanding these are verbs. So it's just a slight twist, and it makes all the difference in the world. We're going to be doing, I'm going to get you up and dance in a minute, I promise. But we're going to be doing what we call an ABC dance. And in the TELA world, ABC dance means a dance that has a clear beginning, an expanded middle section where you're telling the arc of the story, and then a very specific ending. So 3 sections, they can be of any length, but there has to be a distinct beginning, middle, and end. Of course, it's the same construction generally with essays or with stories. So we start to talk about looking at a dance and creating a dance as text. And just as we do a close reading of a text, and we do it iteratively over and over again, we start to have the students understand that this is just like creating written language, but we're creating it with the language of dance. And we're creating a beginning, a middle, and an end, not with our words, but with our body's expression and with our ability to communicate through our body. We talk about it, we dance it, and then we talk about it. So there's this sense of, I'm going to be able to talk about, speak about my dance. I'm going to listen to others. I'm going to be able to read it and speak it, this new vocabulary that I might not have learned before, and I'm going to put it into my dance. When that happens, and they're able to make their own selection of movement, that's when the joy happens. That's when the choice happens. I am not teaching a step and saying, repeat it after me, just the way I did it. Even though that's how I was trained, right? I was trained, I do, we do. We don't do that as much in creative dance, in standards-based dance. We give a canvas, we give tools, and then we say, go choreograph, go create your dance. I can't wait to see what you create. So it's a very different process than people have maybe when you go to a dance class. Even if you go to a Zumba or any kind of class like that, you're following the teacher. You're just replicating whatever the teacher is doing. This is not that. This is an expanding, emerging, and bridging opportunity to own your own dance, to own your own movement. And that's why I think it's so powerful. The teacher becomes a coach, side coaching, always opportunity to show and share the work. It's always a work in progress. It's always, there were things that were wonderful. There were things where you could grow. And there's always that sense of moving with power. Again, using structured discussion with sentence frames for the critique. And we have a format for that. All right, let's go ahead and stop share. And I'm going to ask my dear colleague, Gerald. You guys ready to dance? Can I have some jazz hands? Please, can I have some jazz hands? Thank you. I'm so glad I got my peeps in the house. All right, Gerald is going to give us some music to warm up. Okay, so I just told you I wasn't going to do this thing where it's like, follow me, but for the warm up, we will do that. Follow me. So go ahead and stand if you are able. Gerald is going to give us some music. Clear your space so you don't step on anything, right? Want to make sure you can still hear me. I'm in a very small room, so you should be able to hear me pretty easily. Okay. All right. Head, feel a nice top of your head. All right. Little swings down to the right. Down, up, up. And swing. Up. Shoulders up and down, up, down. Let your knees bend. I really like to warm up my joints before I dance. All around in your wrists. That's it. Bend your knees up and down, up. Reversing it. Beautiful. Like a big backstroke right here. Up, and back, and up. Open the chest, up, and back, and up. If you can't go, just go back. And good wall. Nice. Walk through your feet nice and soft. Just smooth movement. Flowing, flowing. Now sharp, 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 sharp. Quality of movement changing a little bit. Sharp, sharp, sharp. Go low. Down, 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 up. I love it. That's a good in the house. Right. Crisscross. Oh yeah, you're dancing. You're dancing. Little circles around. Low. Dip low. Medium, reverse. Medium. High level. Nice job. Locomotor now. Walk. Walk. Find a space to walk. You're trucking. Walk. With safety, walk backward. We're using direction. We're using our locomotive walking. Walk a little bit quicker on your tempo walk. Nice. Turn on yourself and around. Now freeze, Gerald, cut our music right there. We're gonna do a very low shape. Get as low as you can go. Maybe on one knee, maybe a little bit of a squat. Try to make a jagged, sharp shape with your body on a low level. If you want to imagine what this shape could be, feel free to do so. I think mine is perhaps a starfish. What might yours be? Oh, thank you. All right, Gerald, put us our music again. We're gonna do slide. We're gonna do this sideways. Here in parallel, your hands are down by your sides. Sometimes we call this chasse, sideways, slide. Other way, slide. Side to side, you got it. Again. Slide it, locomotive move, and slide. And once more. And freeze. Cut that music. We're gonna do a high shape. This time we're gonna make it very round. High shape, round. See what parts of your body you can use that create more rounding. Can you round your back? Can you round in one leg? Can you round your arch of your foot? Can you round your arms? Oh, can you balance? What does this shape feel like? I think mine feels like an acrobat balancing on top of a ball. What does yours feel like? Excellent, wonderful. Now we're gonna gallop. The difference between gallop and slide in my world is slides go sideways and gallops go forward, like a horse galloping. A lot of times I'll just say, whew, pick up your reins, let's gallop forward, and then we'll gallop back. Here we go. Maestro. Gerald, thank you so much. It's so nice to have good music. Yeah, forward and back. Again. Step together, step together, step together. Nice. Your legs forward. Back. Counting on the range. One more. Locomotor movement, gallops, front back. And freeze. Medium level, size tiny. How can you make a medium level shape with the quality of being small, tiny? How can you make a smaller shape on a medium level? Maybe you can wrap your body. Maybe you can put your head down lower. You're not low, you're medium, but you have a small shape. So you're using that dimension. I think my shape feels like a snowball. I wonder what your shape feels like. Let's do one more. So we're gonna do, now for those of you that have knee issues, be gentle, we're gonna skip. I know, we're gonna skip, here we go. One of the best locomotor movements on the planet. Skipping. Can't do it till you about step. Here we go, skip, like a step and a hop. You got it. Feel the quality of this movement. What does it feel like to skip? Makes me feel like I'm going through a field of flowers. And freeze. All right, let's create the most twisted shape that we can possibly get into. Can you twist your ankles, your knees, your wrists, your elbows, your head, your chin? What else can you twist? Hold your shape, hold it solid. I definitely feel like a pretzel from the mall. What do you feel like? And rest. Take a rest. So let's go back, please, Gerald, if we can, a couple slides to our locomotor and axial word wall. But what I would do if I was working with a group of students is I would put up the word locomotor and I'd say, what did we do? Oh, Miss Peggy, we walked. Yep. Oh, Miss Peggy, we skipped. Yep. Oh, we galloped, Miss Peggy. So we would then write out all of the locomotor words that we had used. And then I would say, how else could we have moved? Oh, we could have done leaping. I'm like, I'm not putting my teachers through that. Well, we could have leapt, we could have run, right? So always within safety. What other ways can we move? Oh, we could slither. Oh, we could fly. So start to talk about what are the ways that animals move? What are the ways that birds move? What are the ways that insects move? And put all of those words down. In the non-locomotor, we were using our elements of dance, of space, with level. We were using quality. We did some bending, some curling, some twisting. I love these words. Melting is a great one, swinging. So non-locomotor movement is called axial movement. It moves around the axis of the spine, and it means that it stays in place. So it doesn't have to necessarily freeze. A swinging movement could be an axial movement where it stays in one place. And then you could freeze it if you were doing a freeze dance. A freeze dance is a fantastic strategy for English learners. You can use any type of vocabulary for the freeze. If you were doing animal shapes, freeze like a turtle, freeze like a porcupine, freeze like an elephant. If you were doing scientific concepts, move like mist, move like the wind, move like fog, move like rain. So you can deeply embody any of these concepts through movement. And then you can say, when you were dancing like the wind, how were you dancing? And an adverb answer might be freely. I was dancing freely. When you were moving like an icicle, how were you moving? Icily. I was moving icily. So you can bring out the verbs, the action verbs, which we see in front of us. You can bring out the adjectives, the adverbs. You can have them develop further ways. Well, how would a dog move? How would you characterize that? Stealthily, right? So it's a great opportunity to tie language to movement and expanding beyond the academic vocabulary of dance, which is this, to all of the things that you're studying in your other content areas. Now I'd like to go to our ocean wall. One of the strategies that I was so honored to work on when we were in the working in the focus schools and the focus districts with Arlene was this ABC dance. And we ended up using an ocean theme. And this is actually one that Arlene helped me do when we were doing some parent education. And they had some challenges with English language, just as their children did, of course. And so we brainstormed a list of creatures that might be in or around the ocean. And they came up with fish and tuna and swordfish. We have the English and we have the Spanish, the jellyfish, the starfish, the kelp, turtles, dolphins, the octopus. And you can start to see the movement that could be associated with each of these entities. You can also do the environment of the beach or the shore or the sun or the sand. You can have the environment as well as the inhabitants of that environment. You can go as rigorous as you want with this language around what lives in the ocean. You can also talk about climate change. How is the climate change affecting different species in the ocean? So it can be integrated in lots of ways. There may be words that students know in Spanish, but they don't know the English because it's a very specific word. So it's another opportunity to sort of unpack very specific vocabulary in a specific area. But then you say, we're going to jump in the ocean and do a dance. That really opens up creativity. This is the ABC dance. So the structure allows the flow. In the beginning, you create a beginning shape. Thinking about the elements of dance, you can make that shape large or small. You can make that shape low, medium, or high. You could twist it. You can make it more open. Then you create a 3-part dance. And this is like a menu of options. So I would have the participants pick just one of these. You can do one axial movement that stays in place, and then do 2 movement phrases where you're locomoting, where you're moving around the room. Or you can do 2 that are in place and 1 locomotive. So you'd stay. A lot of times we use an 8 count. Stay 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you would go around the room. That would be your 3 sections. Or you can just stay in one place and use 3 axial movements on 3 levels. Having those different kinds of choices made it really nice. And when we were doing the professional development, people picked different ones. They really appealed to different people. They had to come up with a story, and the story had to have a bit of a conflict. So there were stories that were about a person who went to the beach and got stung by a jellyfish. There were stories about smaller fish that got eaten by sharks. There were stories about mermaids. There were stories about dolphins trying to find food or shelter. And it just became this incredible opportunity for participants to work with each other, and whatever they're like, oh, I remember we did that gallop. Let's use that gallop for the dolphin movement. Or let's make sure that we're doing something like a seahorse. We could gallop as if we're on a seahorse. Or we can fly as if we're a seagull that's coming over the ocean. And that movement will be smooth and flowing. And then let's change it to be starfish on the beach and have all these sharp edges. So this is the ABC dance. And it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We always start with a beginning shape, and we start with an ending shape, and we freeze in the last shape for 8 counts. And then we start again. So you now know the music that we're using. This is some hip jazz that Gerald is giving us. And I want you to actually try this, because with dance, you have to take it out of your head and put it into your body. Otherwise, you're just sitting there, right? And we can sit and learn, but if we dance, we imprint it deep into our very sense of self. So we're going to put the music on. I'm sorry you have to do solo work. I'd rather you were working in small groups, but be with your own solo dance. We're going to put the ocean back up there so you can see jellyfish, starfish, seashells, kelp, plankton. I'd like you to embody one of these ocean elements, or pick an ocean element of your own. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and hold your last pose. And we are going to perform these all together. So you don't have to worry about just dance as if no one's watching, right? We're going to use 8 counts. So Gerald, if you can play the music, I'm going to beat the count for a minute. As the intro, so you'd be in your beginning pose, you'd be frozen. Then I say 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and B. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and C. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and freeze. 2, 3, 4. Give it a try. Think of your story. 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and B. Now C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and freeze. 3, 4, 5, 6. Try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and B. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and C. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and freeze. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 8, and freeze.
Thank you, Peggy.
I'm getting played off. Thank you, Gerald. All right, put a heart up in your screen if you enjoyed dancing with me. You did it. You did it. You did elements of dance. You did word walls. You did beginning, middle, end. You did ocean in 2 languages. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Really awesome. Thank you, Janine.
You're welcome. This resource here will be shared with you. So this is a 4-step critique process using describe, analyze, interpret, and critique. And those are the words from our responding and connecting standards in the California Arts Standards. And it gives them the language to support the dance, just like Peggy was saying, using the words that we were doing to move our body. So we just wanted to make sure you knew about that. So I'm going to ask Arlene to come in and we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're at 4:09, ladies. I just want to keep mindful of the time.
Thank you.
We want to get to our theater strategies as well. So Arlene, take it away, my dear.
Thank you so much. So here we have some pictures. These are our actual teachers in action, and you can just see their smiles and you see how excited they were to really have the opportunity to engage in the arts. You know, we forget sometimes, some of us may perhaps did not have that opportunity when we were younger and be involved in the arts. And, you know, and Dottie always, you know, reminds us of that. It's like, we can't expect them, our teachers, to be part of the joy of the arts if they've never experienced it. So that's one of the big tenets that we have also with TEAL and TELA and our other projects, is we want our teachers to experience it. Whether you just experience with Peggy, yes, we're not together in a room. Would we love to be? Yes, absolutely. But we still were able to experience it, right? We were able to move, we warmed up, didn't know we were going to get a workout today, but we did. So thank you, Peggy, for the workout. And so that being said, we want to show a quick video of teachers in action, but really not the teachers, it's the parents. We talked about this earlier, how the parents really connected with their students, with their, you know, and they had a common language to talk about. So Gerald, if you can play that for us, and then I'll talk on the other side of the video. So this is the joy that our teachers and principals really wanted to share. This was actually an Instagram challenge that one of the principals, using social media, sent it out as a challenge to the parents and to the students to come together, and they would video themselves every week. It was a different type of dance, whether it was salsa or foxtrot or anything. They had videos that they could observe and learn, right? And then share with each other. And there was hundreds of videos every week that we had with the parents and the students. She took it from dance. And then when this past year, when we did our music year, there was singing. Kids were just recording themselves singing because that was their voice, right? They were given an opportunity to share who they are in a different way. So, and this is our teachers in action. If you see, and if you notice the first picture, that's Senor Lopez in the front. And you're thinking like, why are they doing the color palette again? Guess what? A lot of our teachers have never really played with a color palette. They just hadn't. So they were just having such a good time in being able to just go back to the beginning, right? Let's start with the colors. What does that look like? What does it feel like, right? Talked about what are the different colors? What kind of moods are the different? How do you feel with the different colors? So, I mean, we went back to the beginning with this. You know, they had the opportunity to just take, we call it an imagination box and create. Didn't give them really, it just said create. And that's what you can see what's happening in that bottom picture. And then this is the top picture, right, is our movement, right? And it's part of the things that you're going to see with Peggy in Tableau. And we're going to have an opportunity to share that. So this is really an exciting, all our strategies at a glance, and you can see how they scaffold over each other. You know, original arts years, like we said, we tried to never do more than 3 or 4 strategies. And our teachers really appreciated that because they felt like they didn't have to learn it all at once. They just had to concentrate on that one year. We've actually had other districts who have now decided to do that very specifically and have residencies, they call them residencies, by the year. We have one district who's decided, we're just going to do theater all year. That's what we're going to do, right? And then they go back and then, you know, and they'll go back to visual arts the following year, and that's what they concentrate as a district. So one of the most popular ones that you probably are all familiar with is See, Wonder, Think. And that really has opened up so much language development because there's not a wrong answer. You just say, what do I see? What do I wonder? What do I think? Right. Another one that was Peggy that we just experienced is the actual locomotor movements, right? We can do this in the classroom. We can do this outside. We can do wherever, right? And play even a freeze dance, right? And just like Peggy took us through that. In music, we really had a fun time in how singing to learn language, right? And some of you are probably right. I know I'm again like preaching to the choir, learning language, using song and making up their own songs. And those are the things that we learned through Andrew Grushaw from Cal Arts. Yeah, having everybody learn the different, using something as simple as cups, and all these strategies you're going to be able to find and see, not just as a resource, but the videos of our artists teaching these strategies in the modules. So we're going to really invite you at the end to join us in those videos. We're going into theater this year. You're going to experience Tableau with Peggy today. And our intensive districts will be doing that with us this year. We actually are excited to have live theater back with our teachers, and they'll be able to experience it. So we're here to support. We're here to provide any support that you might need, any questions answered later on today. But you're going to get a copy of this. So please use it, enjoy it, and ask us any questions that you might have. Okay. So that being said, I am going to ask Miss Janine to share some of the other resources that we have through CCSESA.
Yeah. We have a question from Gracie in the chat is, when were the parents taught these dances?
So
did the kids teach them or what?
So thank you, Gracie. So during the COVID year, especially, that the parents have actually, when Peggy started teaching them with dance, the dance year, right? So actually Peggy did a lot of parent trainings for us, and parents came. I mean, you would be surprised. Parents were there because they just wanted to dance and have the joy of movement. So what happened then March 13th, right? We all went home. And we had to think, okay, so how do we continue this? We know it's important. So we worked with another partner and they provided us with videos. Other students use YouTube. It was anything that they could connect with their parents. And that was where the power of social media came in. Using Instagram, that's what our teachers use, or Parent Connect or Parent Square, whatever social media or app they could use to connect with their families. That's what principals did. But that's because they were confident in what they had been taught in the previous year and kept scaffolding. And we provided them resources throughout as needed. So the parents, some of them, as you saw, they were just having fun. Others really were following, right? The family of 3 who you saw them, they're following a video and doing it together. So that's how we did that.
Well, we're going to do a little bit of theater now. We're going to highlight one from the Culturally and Linguistically Responsive Arts and Teaching and Learning in Action. It's a wonderful publication from CCSESA, as well as Module 13, part of Creativity at the Core. We have 24 professional development modules. I just wanted to highlight that because CCSESA is our wonderful host, and they have such wonderful user-friendly resources that are ready to go. So, hey, Peggy, what's Tableau? Let's do this.
So many of you are seeing me a second time this week, right? Some of you came to our framework training. And so you all know that I work all over the state. I work for the Los Angeles County Office of Education. I work with CCSESA. And what's so exciting for me is to see how all these threads are pulling together. So I'm going to talk about the Tableau experience in these 2 different resources. And they are both really rich and really talk about cultural relevance. So just to set the scene, a tableau is a graphic description or representation, or a striking or artistic grouping. Don't you love that definition? Of short, of course, for tableau vivant. Oui, that is my second language that I'm struggling with. Tableau vivant from the French, a living picture. So how that relates to dance and to theater is just this beautiful intersection. You can go from frozen to movement and back to frozen with lots of texture. Sometimes we think about it as like a silent movie that's gotten frozen in time, motionless. And we know that with dance as well, stillness is the other part of movement, right? So tableau is all about exploring the stillness, and the expression on the faces is a huge part of this. If you can see this picture with these wonderful actors that have masking on them, look at their facial expressions. Just pause for a moment. I would ask an English learner to say, can you describe to me the expression on that face? It's not an easy thing to do, right? You might say, he's inquisitive, or you might say, she's worried, right? So the interpretation, going to social emotional learning and saying, when we show an expression on our face, it shows how we feel within our hearts. We can do that in an acting venue as well. We can put on that character and that emotion. So at the bottom of the screen here, you see creativity at the core. This is from the CCSESA module number 13. There are now about 25 of these modules. They are all free and available for download on the CCSESA Arts Initiative website. It's called On Stage, English Language Learners, Theater Arts, and Language Development. And this particular section, which is introducing tableau, has 5 elements. And it's so wonderful because it takes you all the way down through. So the first one is to think about focus and stillness. If you look at this wonderful old movie, or this clip, this moment in time, and you're thinking, how is Cary Grant feeling right now? What's going on there? What's he got in his hand? So I would like to invite you to take one of these 3 characters, whichever one feels really interesting to you. Maybe you're looking off in the distance with some arrogance. Maybe you have concern. Maybe you're angry. So I'm going to count down from 3 to 2 to 1. And then I would love for you to focus on the stillness of that shape as much as you can. If you're holding a telephone, be sure to curl your fingers. If you're holding her arm, make sure there's tension there. And then hold it with stillness. So pick one of these 3 characters, assume a still posture like that character. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, freeze. Fantastic, unfreeze. Now go back and do a different character than you did the first time and see if you can focus on the facial expression and see how you might characterize that. How could you describe that? Is that frustrated? Is that above it all? Is that urgency? What is the characteristic? How would you describe that with your words? And then with your facial expression, pick one of the characters that you see and see if you can find that character within yourself. On a countdown of 3, 2, 1. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Oh, that's fantastic. It's so great on Zoom, because on Zoom, we're like, oh my gosh, she froze. And they're like, intentionally. I love that. Okay, so the third, now you're going to have to probably stand up. The third element is body shape. Now, these actors have some interesting body shapes going on, right? There's leaning in, there's laying back, there's over and down. So we're going to assume one of these 3 body shapes. These are at a medium level, right? One's sitting on a table, the other 2 are standing. So pick your 3rd character, the one that you haven't done yet, and assume the body shape. If you want to scaffold it, you're still, and you have the facial expression, and you have the body shape of that character. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Excellent, excellent. Unfreeze. Isn't it interesting to embody each one of these characters? You start to feel like you know them a little bit, right? The fourth element is levels. And so I've said to you, this is on a medium level. So you're wondering now, the guy is leaned over. If you were going to do an opposite level of your character, you can go back to your first character. What would be a different level that would change their attitude? So let's say, for instance, I'm doing the beautiful woman and she's down and in, her head is up. If I changed her level by doing this, how would that change her attitude? How would that change her character? So we're going to do opposite. Take an opposite level and have your character, your chosen character, change their attitude. What's an opposite attitude of what they're showing right now? On a 3, 2, 1, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ah, yes, yes, excellent. And rest. Isn't that interesting? Just by changing the level in the Tableau setting, you can totally change the story. I really wish I knew what the story was. I'm going to have to look it up. And last is character relationships, which in this picture is key, right? All right. So I would like to have one person or so unmute yourself and tell me, what is this Tableau telling you about the characters' relationships? Who would like to take a stab at this with your words? Debbie? Did I see Debbie's hand up?
Yes.
Oh, this is His Girl Friday. Thank you, Janine. Go ahead, Debbie. What does the character relationships of this Tableau tell you about these characters?
It looks like the man on the right is trying to protect the woman or is reaching out because the man on the other side is maybe angry or frustrated with her, but she doesn't care either way.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. And thank you for being bold to share your verbal language. Who else would like to interpret this in a slightly different way? Is there a different story that you're seeing from the character relationship that you see in this Tableau? This resource is the one that Sarah referenced in the beginning with the culturally relevant pedagogy, culturally relevant learning and teaching. And I just wanted to show this because it has a different approach to the Tableau. Both are so good, but they have different approaches. But this one also gives you the rationale and it tells you what the objectives are. So if you're looking at how this ties into language learning, connecting with the student competencies, developing oral language, artistic and cognitive skills, all of these are wrapped up in what Tableau does for our students. They're developing critical thinking skills. You had to figure out, what is that Tableau shape? What is that telling us? What story is that telling us? And they're using communication with their bodies and then with their language. So Tableau is such an easy and accessible theater strategy. And there's certainly so many things that you can do with Tableau in terms of content. But I just wanted to highlight these two CCSESA resources that both approach Tableau, but approach it in a slightly different way and just wonderful facets of the Tableau strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
I'll volunteer.
Thanks, Jenny. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm a 7th and 8th grade teacher. And one of the things that, we were kind of brainstorming in our group just to kind of get an idea of how it would work. We have a teacher who was kindergarten. We have a music teacher. And what came up was, at first we were kind of like, we enjoyed this. We enjoyed the idea of interpretation through dance, the idea of theater. And it got me thinking, because as an English teacher, I have put up photographs and asked, give me a dialogue. What would they be saying to one another? But I like the perspective of taking those faces and then having my students act that out. And we all agreed that right now, with wearing a mask, that students, some of them hide behind that mask. And the idea of not having to show facial expressions. So then the next step is really the movement and getting them involved with that particular movement to express what they're thinking. We also have an EL teacher. This is her first time being an EL teacher. We had some interesting changes. And so I thought, wow, this is something I want to sit down with her, because she's also in my English department, and share with her how fun this could be. And also taking, walking them through a story through the idea of movement, so that those words come together and they get an idea of what's going on. Our PE department, as I guess you're going to say, has been ahead of the times. They have used dance where they get the kids together and they have to create a dance story on their own. They get to generate that and then present it to everybody. And I thought that was kind of a cool thing. So yeah, we're just starting out, sharing what we do and how we thought we might be able to incorporate it. So there we go.
Jenny, thank you so much for that. I really love that your PE department is embracing dance. I'm so excited that we now will have a dance credential. But this languaging piece, sometimes we see artist statements in front of visual arts, and now encouraging dancers and choreographers to do dance statements. When I ask students that have been trained in dance to talk about their dance, they can't do it. They can show you, but they can't talk about it. So it's so interesting to take it to that next level and incorporate the language. Thank you for your vision.
In the chat, we're going to drop a bit.ly link in there for you. And in this bit.ly folder is a bunch of resources. We have the worksheets that we highlighted, the tableau, the lesson plan that goes with it, a whole page of resources and links from the CCSESA website. Yeah, Peggy's going to do a Vanna White there, show us a resource. And from the CCSESA website, as well as links to the Los Angeles County Office of Education resources from TEAL and TELA. Now, TEAL is has an online component with free access for 8 modules, including Introduction to Arts Integration and Arts and SEL. And TEAL is the mothership of TELA. So a lot of the same content on both. We also have media arts for elementary classrooms, which is focused on ELD strategies this year. Our next section is on October 7th with PBS Learning Media. And we're going to be doing video production. So what does that look like in kindergarten through grade 6 or any integrated classroom? So we have classrooms in middle school and high school attending that as well.
But Janine, can I highlight one?
Yeah, Peggy, what did I miss? And then I want to put the survey link in while we're just wrapping up our last comments here.
Perfect. I want to give a shout out to Janine for facilitating this really wonderful lesson plan template. And so you'll find the lesson that we did today with the elements of dance, also the ELD standards that were referenced, the California Art Dance Standards that were referenced, the CASEL competencies, and all of them are listed in this lesson plan, the lesson plan that I took you through. Another one of my very favorite resources inside of TELA is called Sequential Benchmarks for Dance. And this is so wonderful because it says developmentally what students are able to do at each grade level, and where they can hop and balance with ease, where they can adjust to and coordinate with a partner. So this is a really rich resource to show you developmentally what you can expect from students in terms of dance and development. I don't miss that one.
Thank you so much, Peggy. I need to make sure those are all in there. They will be by the end of the night. I just want to thank you all for your time. I know it's hard to be on a Zoom at the end of a school day, so we're just thrilled to have you here. Dottie?
Oh, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, everyone. Claremont, special thank you to all of you that are here. They are collectively working at all different levels to move the arts forward, from leadership to parents and just all the districts, all you leaders. You're doing a tremendous amount for our students that'll last them beyond their school years. And thank you for letting me be on this journey with you. Sarah?
I want to echo that and also just say that I'm just inspired by all the expert teachers and leaders here today, because you really are making it happen for our students. And I hope this sparked a lot of just new ideas. And even if you know the strategies already, maybe you can conceive of a new way to use these in your particular organizations, your classrooms. So thank you so much for being with us. You know, we would always love to be face-to-face together, but you made it like a face-to-face in all the ways you engaged with us today. So thank you.